Have you ever seen a horror show where the main monster is not just the demon clown, but also suburbia, racism, Cold War, paranoia, and pickle factory? Because yeah, that's this show, and damn it, I am here for it. Let's review episode 2 of It. Welcome to Derry. Let's go. I mean, the episode begins with a quick continuation of what happened at the end of episode 1. You know what I'm saying? What happened at the movie theater. But this time we end up seeing it with Lily's point of view. I do love the fact that no, this is a canon event. They're not just framing it as something that happened and they're just moving past and like, no, this is what happened, and we get the immediate aftermath of it. So yeah, man, props to y'all for that. It ain't one of those, oh, maybe it was a vision or maybe it was a dream. No, once again, I said it in the last video, I'm gonna say it again. Them niggas is dead. After our girl Lily wakes up from her nightmare, we then jump over to outside of Ronnie's crib where we see the police hanging outside, kind of talking about what's going on and trying to basically arrest Hank for what happened. Now, they can't do it because they don't have any evidence because they didn't find any bodies, they didn't find any blood or anything like that. So they can't really pin it on him. But I mean, he a black dude in the 60s, you know what I'm saying? So either way it go, they are trying to arrest him for it. And that's one thing that got Ronnie scared, you know what I'm saying? That's her fear, you know what I'm saying? Her dad getting arrested for what happened, knowing that he had absolutely nothing to do with it. Which kind of plays into what I was saying earlier, as far as like, you know what I'm saying, like the system being one of the horrors, you know what I'm saying? It's not just Pennywise, but the racial state that's going on. The outside world is more dangerous than the monster entity that they got going on. Like the police suspicion of Hank just it speaks volumes about how 1962 Derry was, and even like later on at the bar where you got two people coming up to the chief basically like, hey bro, this is Derry, did you arrest a Negro yet? You know what I'm saying? So that just lets you know. And I will say a theme of this episode definitely felt like throwing people under the bus. Marge, her punk ass did it a lot, but yeah, even with Lily a little bit because she didn't necessarily like she just said she didn't see him there, but she didn't necessarily say he didn't do it. So the police is just definitely trying to like clamor on to something just so they can be like, all right, look now, we need something so we can pin it on them. But yeah, we'll get to that in a little bit. We also see Hank and his mom having a conversation about how the police is and how they're trying to frame it for what happened, even though that they know he didn't do it. And then we also see the camera kind of pan over to a picture of Ronnie's mom in a wedding dress. And we end up learning that, what I'm saying, one thing that she feels guilty about is her mom dying through childbirth. And oh my God, my nigga fool. When I tell you Pennywise, he's fucking gross, man. Because in her vision sequence, oh, we got a very, very disgusting womb, a biblical chorus being pulled towards her dead mom's face. Oh, bro, that it was so fucking disgusting. Like, bro, if I wake up and see a giant umbilical cord, I'm just pulling the plug. I mean, I'm sorry. Like, dog, what the hell is wrong with you, man? Because the monster's form is basically like a sexualized birth horror. You know what I'm saying? It flips the birth into life concept and the birth into terror, and they whatever they was going for, they did an absolutely good job because that was something to look at now for real, for real. That is also the first time we do get a glimpse of Pennywise's eyes. They did say that they want to show Pennywise take different shapes this season because he's not just, what I'm saying, the clown. So they have been doing a good job just showing you different forms. But I will say, hey, when he do fully show up full Pennywise and ready to go, it's probably gonna be like on some Freezer Final Form type stuff. We then see our boy Major Leroy Hamlin's family show up in Derry, his wife Charlotte and his son Will. I mean, they're a black family in the 60s staying in Maine. So I mean that could already let you know the looks they was getting. The neighbors will tolerate them superficially, but they ain't really rocking with child fan. And I like Charlotte. I'll give her a little bit more in a little bit, but I do like Charlotte because she was like, I mean, are you sure that we are good here, fam? Yeah, they drove down from Louisiana and off the back, Leroy instantly lied to his wife about what happened. He just said, what I'm saying, he's good, but he didn't really go into details. But it also definitely sounds like he doesn't really know his son that well. We do see Will, who, what I'm saying, yeah, that Will. He's into telescopes and science and stuff like that. And Leroy is like one of those dads who's more like, hey, let's go throw the baseball, you know what I'm saying, out back type. But, it is what it is. But I do like the fact that it is kind of also showing you that Will is going to be like a good member of the Losers Club. He's like a quote unquote outcast just because of the things that like, all right, child. So we back at the school, right? And we see punker ass Mars getting off the bus, and she is still doing everything that she can to be a part of the patty cakes. And look, whatever, do you. But we also see Ronnie ended up coming back to school, which was her first day, because we also see her grandmother and Hank kind of arguing about that earlier in the episode. Like she was like, hey, look, you can't protect her forever. Like her ass is going back to school on Monday with her head held high, and she just gonna have to deal with it. You know what I'm saying? And keep it pushing. One thing that I will say I liked about this episode for sure, though, that once again, like I said earlier, it felt like one thing was definitely throwing people under the bus this episode because Bars did that a couple of times and it backfired, and it backfired on her like horribly. The first time she did it was here at the school, and then Mars started telling, she started telling a couple of jokes. She got a couple of, how people get, you get a couple chuckles, you get a couple laughs, and all of a sudden they try to keep it going, and then one of them was like, all right, you can like chill out now. You being mean. And like, yeah, don't be mean, Mark. So it kind of backfired on her in that instance. In this regard, like it happens again. But yeah, that was the first time. So we end up seeing her and Lily, what I'm saying, talking in class. And Marge is basically like, hey, is everything okay? What I'm saying, you haven't really been talking to me. And Lily is basically like, look, I've been dealing with some shit, obviously. I'm trying to figure out, what's been going on. Like I haven't been like trying to ignore you on purpose, obviously. Marge is on some look. The girl saw you talking to Ronnie, and you don't need to be affiliated with her. Like, I can still get you into the patty cakes, but you got to basically do your part. Hey, you know what? Round of applause to Lily because she was basically on some man. Fuck you and the patty cakes. Like Susie, Ted, they are dead. I don't give a damn about what y'all got going on right now. Y'all can miss me with all that, and rightfully so. Like priorities is all the way messed up right now. But we do end up learning that Will is in the same class with them because he ended up pulling up late. And then his teacher, Miss Douglas, with, yeah, I hate her punk ass too. She ended up basically chastising him, basically saying if you late again, it'll reflect your grade. And then boom, the good old racism happens because, he's trying to sit down. They kick his chair out from underneath him. But we also end up getting a brief introduction to Rich, you know what I'm saying, who obviously is a pencil enthusiast because he was like, hey, man, Cedar Point, huh? Good pencil. So yeah, you can kind of see that's where they're gonna end up bonding at right there. So yeah, I even though it happened in a messed up situation, I do like how Rich and Will ended up kind of interacting with each other for the first time. Hey yo, but speaking of our girl Lily though, because she is the one who actually saw the massacre and lived to tell about it, but she is spiraling, yo. Because also keep in mind too that her dad died in a damn pickle factory, which is, I bet you that was Diddy's dream. No, never mind. But she basically spent the majority of the episode not telling the full truth of what happened. You know what I'm saying? Because it's a crazy story and there is no witnesses. Now that I think about it, y'all didn't have no damn security cameras back. You know what? Whatever. But either way it goes, though, it does sound like a crazy story. And considering she was institutionalized, I can understand where she was coming from as far as like not wanting to be like, hey, fucking demon mutant baby came out of the projector, killed all my partners. I mean, I wouldn't want to go back to Juniper Hills either because she saw some shit over there. And just real quick, I'll go more into detail of it later, but her horror sequence, man, like think about Ronnie's, she is feeling guilty about her mom dying, you know what I'm saying, when she was born. Like and we saw what we saw. Pennywise was on some oh come it was just like yeah, that shit was fucking gross. But for Lily, like I said, her dad died in the pickle factory. So just think about it. Pickles, jars, like intestines. It just basically transformed like a routine grocery trip into like just fucking hero produce items. Ooh, yeah, man. Pennywise, you a wild one, bro. Like I damn. And then after Lily wake up, they gonna gas like her license. Hey girl, you tripping. Send your ass back to Juniper Hills, you know what I'm saying? But oh my God, yeah, man. That you We also do see a little bit of Dick Holler in this episode. You know, we do see him hanging out with Jackson Reggie, who was two of his squad mates. You know what I'm saying? They was hanging out at a bar, drinking, having a good time, talking about all the shenanigans that's been going on base. You know what I'm saying? They was basically getting questioned. I did laugh because they asked Dick, you know what I'm saying, like, how long did they question you for? And he was like, they didn't. And they was like, well, what have you been doing all day? It was like, super secret mission, but with the most serious look, and they just bust out laughing. I mean, it's funnier because we know he's actually telling the truth, though. But the fact that they didn't believe him makes it just that much more funny. Because I ain't gonna lie to you, like my homeboy would have told me some shit like that. I was been like, man, get your drunk ass on out of here. So keep in mind though that the military does know that he does have psychic abilities. Like that's the main reason why he has special clearance, which he definitely needed that because we saw the chief talking to Elmer and it looked like it was about to get real racist. So he was like, oh, time to go. And I'm pretty sure when he was talking about, I know this place that got moonshine, he was talking about the Black Spot, which is a place that had like a lot of black airmen and military people that they would go hang out at. And which will come into play later because it did end up getting burnt down, which is oh man, goddamn Will. Which I love the fact that they instantly went into it, you know, because it just confirms that he actually does have special clearance. And basically the special project is they're using his psychic abilities to be able to try to find these objects or artifacts that the military are trying to use to weaponize that fear, you know what I'm saying, to help them win the Cold War. And he ain't been successful, you know what I'm saying? I think it was the colonel basically was telling him like, hey, yo, look, bro, I know you've been out here enjoying your special privilege, and that's probably why you've been postponed as actually finding anything. But hey, we do another one of these dry runs. Hey, them privileges will be revoked real quick, fam. We also see them being watched by the Native American tribe, looking real pissed off because keep in mind that they are the only ones that really know what what Pennywise is, and they basically looking like, hey, look, I know what y'all looking for, but it ain't gonna be what y'all think it is. And as soon as y'all do that, y'all are gonna get killed horribly. But in this case, they are looking for that 1930s car that was shot up in the intro, which I will definitely get to that intro later on. But that's what they're looking for in this episode right here in particular. While after school, we also see Ronnie and Lily talking about what happened. You know, Ronnie does tell her about her Pennywise experience, and then that she needs to tell the police what happened because you know she's scared that they're gonna take her pops away. And like I said earlier, Lily is basically on some look. Like I told him I ain't see him there. Like that's the best I can do. But Ronnie is like, yeah, but you told me you saw something come up out the projector and kill everybody. So why you just can't tell them that? So that's when she was basically like, look, I don't want them to send me back to Juniper Hills. You know what I'm saying? Like I done seen some messed up things there. And I think she might be alluding to the fact that there was some kids getting lobotomized over there. So maybe if she gets sent back this time, they might end up like lobotomizing her. I don't know, but I think that's maybe what she was talking about. We see Rich and Will hanging out a little bit more in the hallway at lunchtime. You know, they're outcasts, so they're not gonna be in the lunchroom with everybody. They doing their own thing. But it kind of also alludes to the fact that maybe Rich is in love with Marge because we see them walking by in slow motion, and he was definitely staring at her the whole time, and she looks like she ain't feeling him at all. But Rich and Will were just chilling in the hallway until some jackass ended up throwing a smoke bomb down there. And as soon as Will broke out, he ended up running to Miss Douglas, and she sent my boy straight to detention, y'all. So, but on a positive note, that's when him and Ronnie ended up meeting for the first time, and then they basically ended up bonding over the fact that they got through in detention for some BS. Well, not Ronnie, Dog. I definitely laughed when Will was like, "Oh, which you here for?" And she was like, "For cussing." And then he was like, "Oh, were you falsely accused of it?" She was like, "No, I'm guilty as hell." Like, I was like, "Oh no, unlike you, I did that shit." But I do like the little quick interaction that they had, though, like her calling him a nerd, but like the way he explained the particles of like the stink bomb. You know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna lie, it was some smooth ass shit, and I feel like his mind is what's gonna end up coming into play as far as like how they ended up defeating Pennywise because he looks at everything so scientifically. So I feel like that's gonna definitely come into play like later on. I will say that one thing that I think this show does well so far. I mean, I know we're only 2 episodes in, but it has a lot of symbolism and mythology. You know what I'm saying? Like, for instance, like the police can be a symbolism for like institutional horror. You know what I'm saying? Like the town police chief Clint Bowers, who is I think the grandfather of Hank, I want to say, but he's in a lot of pressure to do something about what happened to the kids at the movie theater. And not only that, it's being put blamed on the black dude. So they really like, hey man, this is Derry, fam. Like, just do what you need to do and let's keep it pushing. Like, we ain't even got to drag this out. But this is basically the horror in the daylight. You know what I'm saying? The monster is the system in this case. And speaking of the system, so Pete, basically the whole episode, Leroy was basically investigating what happened to him. You know what I'm saying? Like, he smart as hell because he instantly realized what type of gun it was. I think it was like a Magnum PM, and those type of guns was kind of trash, and you had to be specially trained to be able to load it. And the dude that pointed in his face, expert at it. So that was something that he caught a detail of, and it actually become real pivotal because he basically was putting everything together, and they ended up arresting Masters for it. So he went to go visit Masters in his jail cell just to kind of see if it was really him because he was kind of skeptical about it. Long story short, he coerced them into wanting to shoot him after he said, "Hey, man, as long as I ain't got to put this in your mind, we good to go." You know what I'm saying? So, as Masters was trying to load the gun up, he was doing a terrible job and basically confirmed the fact that, yeah, Leroy think that basically it was a false confession. Fam, tell me why when Leroy went to go holler at General Shaw, played by Raiden from Mortal Kombat Annihilation, by the way. General Shaw was basically like, "Oh yeah, I know, bro. It was just basically a test to see if what I knew about you was true because I heard you had a brain injury and you basically don't experience fear. So I needed to know if it was accurate or not. And hey, my bad. Look, respectfully, I don't give a damn if you a general or elder guide or what. This is grounds for me to whoop your monkey ass because, bruh, I got beat with a metal pipe all because you wanted to test if I can get scared or not. Nah, nah, bro, that is not the way the game is supposed to go at the hell out, bro. Do I like Johnny Cage to you? Do I like Jax? Like, I have both of my arms. I ain't out here talking about I did 6 tours, motherfucker. Like, no, man, side note, I just want to say I love the dynamic between Leroy and Charlotte. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's the major, he's the military dude. And we ended up learning at the dinner earlier that they basically had to move out of Louisiana because she was involved in the civil rights movement. She was out there making signs, sitting where she wasn't supposed to be sitting. And they ended up getting a brick thrown through their car window. So, they had to break out, which that would explain a lot about her character though, because earlier when she went to the butcher, what I'm saying, to go get some roast, like some kids was jumping this dude and literally nobody in the town was doing anything. And she was like, "Hey, why ain't nobody doing nothing?" So I think Stan was his name. He was like, "I mean, boys, we boys." She was like, "Nah, bro." So she went to go break it up. And just her willingness to do right, you know what I'm saying, like just instantly, because even at the dinner she was like, "I just want to go chase their parents down." And both Will and Leroy was like, "Please don't do that." Like, I ain't even been to school a week yet. Like we done already had to move because you were like so heavily involved. But like I said, I love the dynamic because both of them want to do right, you know what I'm saying, in their own way. But I mean, look, it's basically Mike's grandmother. I also love the scene where she was walking past the alleyway because it also looked like the alley that Mike was running down when he was like kind of in a similar situation, getting chased before he was about to get his ass whooped. So yeah, man, once again, like I love Leroy, I love Charlotte. Just yeah, man, just bravo, you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, look, I don't know what happened to Charlotte because I don't think we saw her in either of the movies or in the miniseries, for obviously, you know what I'm saying. But we did see Leroy in It Chapter 2 because he was the one, you know what I'm saying, with the good old slaughterhouse. So, and you can already see, like Derry messed that man up mentally. I mean, obviously so, considering what happened to good old, yeah. But yeah. Okay, look, man, I know I said I was about to go into further detail about Lily's nightmare horror sequence. So let's get into it. Because look, bro, she ended up going to Save a Lot. That's not the actual story she went to. That's just the first story that came to my mind. But she ended up going grocery shopping and literally As soon as she went in there, Pennywise attack already started on her because as soon as she walked past, like I think it was the pickle out that she actually, like the pickle jar that she actually like walked past, but you can already see like shells moving behind her, like kind of like trapping her in, you know what I'm saying, into a maze. And as she walking, all you hear over the loudspeaker is Pennywise say, Lily Bainbridge, have you lost your marbles? There's a special on marbles in aisle 8. Dog, I died laughing because he is so freaking childish, dog. And you can like hear people whispering, you know what I'm saying, about, hey, you should have been committed or, you crazy. They need to send you back to Juniper Hills. But also remember that all of this is basically Pennywise in different form. Like I said earlier, like Adam, they basically said that they wanted to showcase him in different forms. And in Derry, he can basically transform and teleport at will. Like he's basically a god there, Dog, as Lily is going around one of these corners, bruh, she ends up running into a shelf full of cereal boxes with all her dead homies on that mud. You know what I'm saying? You saw Maddie, you saw Susie, you saw Teddy. Damn, I think the other dude name was Phil. Either way it go, you saw all of them on cereal boxes. And this is the first time I want to say that we maybe saw Pennywise's name being seen on something, you know what I'm saying, by the actual characters. Because you did see Pennywise's name on the cereal box. Oh my God, dog. As she went around another corner, she is surrounded by a bunch of pickle jars because once again, her pops died in the pickle factory. And one of the jars had her dead daddy's disfigured face in it. Dog, when I tell you he was in that jar looking like the Fiend Bray Wyatt, RIP. But yeah, that's exactly how he was looking. He was looking like a combination of him and Jigsaw from the Punisher Warzone movie. Very underrated, by the way. But dog, she smashed that jar. And when I tell you, it was like intestines and just grossness going towards her, bruh. It looked absolutely insane, bruh. Give the pickle a kiss is a wild line, fam. You'll never look at pickles ever the same again after this episode, bruh. Like, what? So we get to the end of the episode, General Shaw basically brings in Leroy, you know what I'm saying? He was like, hey, look, there's a weapon buried underneath Derry they call it Sphere. So Leroy was like, oh, what you mean? It's a bomb? You know what I'm saying? And Shaw was like, nah, bro, it's pure terror energy. So basically, the U.S. government is trying to monetize Pennywise, which go figure. But either way it goes, they end up digging up that 1930 looking car that I was talking about earlier that showed up in the intro. And bruh, it was filled with skeletons, Tommy gun, gangster looking bastards, cash. And imagine looking for a bomb or some gold, and then you end up finding the Great Depression mixtape. I think the major thing for this episode in particular was they basically fear feeds the system. As we all know, that's one of the main things that Pennywise feeds off of. So whether it was the cops, you know what I'm saying, trying to weaponize their fear against Hank, or the military literally trying to dig up a weapon to mine fear, or it was just the kids in general with their own personal fear and trauma that they got going on. But yeah, I think that was one thing they definitely symbolized for sure. Or just if you look at how they're cheating, birth and death. Saying whether it's Ronnie's birth trauma with her mom or the massacre or like the skeletal remains that we seen in the car, like the circle of life and death, beginning and ending, like repeating every 27 years in Derry lore is just, it's just, they're doing a good job of like bringing that into, what I'm saying, the Stephen King's universe, considering that this is basically based off of the books and the journals that Mike has in, I'm saying, the library in chapter 2. So when you think about how they have to expand on things to, give us 8 episodes of awesomeness, basically, they're doing a very good job the first 2 episodes for sure. Whether it's like the supernatural stuff that's going on, being a black family in a racially charged town, like the military operation that's going on, like the indigenous hints that's in Derry's history, like everything seems like it's going to be touched on in these like 8 episodes. Now, granted, it does sound like it will be a lot to handle and a lot to try to address, but I mean, look, so far so good. Also, the entity that we know is Pennywise is starting to ramp up. You know what I'm saying? Like they're doing a good job of showing him in different forms and not just at the clown form, and showing you that, hey, look, when we tell you that he is basically a god here, he can literally do whatever he wants to. Like, whether it's him showing up as the demon mutant baby, or, showing up as Lily's disfigured head, or Veronica's deceased mom. It's just, yeah, it's fucking gross. But I do like the fact, and I do love how these early episodes are basically building the tension and context, and it's not just for scares. It's actually making sense, and it's going to be vital to the story moving forward. We're not just repeating what happened in the 2017 movies or anything like that, but they're giving you a backstory of Derry's long history. And honestly, I think the first episode did well, and they're already agreed to do a season 2, so we might end up getting all 3 seasons like they shooting for. And yeah, man, I ain't gonna lie. The 60s is already wild, so I can only imagine what the 30s and what the 1908 one can is gonna be. Oh, I definitely was not about to end this video without even talking about the new intro, because when I tell you, not only is it hilarious, but it is definitely filled with basically all the major events across Pennywise's timeline. It's based on a 27-year cycle, because like I said, we got the 60s period, we got the 30s, and we got the 1908 period. I mean, it starts off showing us the Paul Bunyan statue that they are building in the 60s that we end up seeing, end up terrorizing Richie, what I'm saying, in It Chapter 2. Part of the idea is that the first bit is a part of the 1960s era, what I'm saying? We see Pennywise eyes in the background of basically almost every little scene that they show in the intro. I mean, we got a little girl staring at a storm drain like Georgie did. We see a kid being lobotomized at the Juniper Hills Mental Hospital that Lily was forced to go to after her dad died, and that we end up seeing her getting shipped out to at the end of the episode. We see Pennywise in the window of this well house that the losers end up going to travel to just so they can get the Pennywise lair in It Chapter 1, I would say. We also see the camera pan out to a classroom full of students, and it looks like the teacher got them watching a projector explaining nuclear attacks. If you also look, you notice one of the students sees a clown hands operating the projector, and it's basically Pennywise just orchestrating everything like he basically done in the novel, the miniseries, and in the movies. And then it ended up panning out to the shot of the car that we ended up seeing them dig it at the end of the episode. But car is from the 1930s, and you can also see Pennywise hanging on a lamppost holding a Tommy gun. I ain't gonna lie, I need to see that. I need to see that already, like on screen, because I know that scene is probably gonna be hilarious as hell to look at. I mean, the best way I can describe episode 2 of Welcome to Derry is, I mean, welcome to Derry in therapy. I mean, we got racism, birth trauma, Cold War paranoia, and pickles. I mean, Stephen King probably somewhere just sipping coffee like. But I will say this show is doing a fantastic job, though, of doing what horror should do. It's making you think. It is making you scared to open your damn pantry. But look, if y'all watching, I'm watching too. So we just gonna ride this horror wave together. But there y'all have it, man. There is my breakdown of episode 2 of Welcome to Derry. Let me know in the comment section below which horror sequence creeped you out the most. Was it Ronnie's birth sequence, or was it Lily's pickle panic? And don't forget to hit that like, subscribe button, and ring that bell just so you don't miss out on my episode 3 breakdown. Also, remember that this episode dropped on Friday, which was Halloween. So it'll be back to its regular schedule this upcoming week. So the next episode, episode 3, drops November the 9th. So just keep that in mind. But until next time, y'all, stay safe, keep your night lights on, keep your telescopes pointing to the sky, because you never know who might be looking at you. And peace.